Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be doing something kind of different.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, a bit of time travel.
Okay, I like that already.
Yeah, so we're going way back to 2014
Right.
to revisit a camera that really shook things up when it came out, the Panasonic Lumix GH4.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It's 2025 now.
Wow, time flies.
But we're going to see if this classic camera
Right.
still holds up,
Yeah.
especially for video creators like you guys out there
Yeah.
who might be on a tighter budget.
Makes sense.
So, time travel for tech.
I'm in. So the GH4, why was it such a big deal back then?
Yeah, well, we have a great hands-on review from LensClear by Liang to guide us here.
Okay.
But just to set the stage,
Yeah.
before the GH4 shooting in 4K was basically a luxury
Oh, yeah.
just for big budget productions.
Definitely.
And this camera made professional quality 4K accessible to way more creators, you know?
That's what's so cool about the GH4.
Right.
It wasn't just about the specs. It was about opening doors. You know?
Totally.
Imagine being a filmmaker back in 2014.
Yeah.
And suddenly you could get that cinematic look
Yeah.
without needing a Hollywood budget.
It's true.
That had a huge impact
Oh, yeah.
on independent filmmaking documentary work, even online content,
Yeah, it's like the GH4 gave a voice to all these creators who couldn't be heard before.
Exactly.
So over a decade later,
Wow.
what makes this camera still worth talking about?
Well, even in 2025,
Yeah.
the GH4 offers a surprising amount of value,
Okay.
especially if you're looking at the used market.
Right.
It's got some enduring strengths that make it relevant even today.
Okay, let's unpack those strengths.
Yeah.
Leo's review really emphasized the build quality. He called it a tank, which I love.
He's not wrong. The GH4 is built like a workhorse
Yeah.
with a magnesium alloy frame
Wow.
and weather sealing.
Nice.
It was designed to be taken out into the world to handle tough conditions.
Yeah.
That kind of durability is priceless.
Oh, yeah.
If you're shooting documentaries, events,
Mm-hmm.
or anything on location where you just can't control the environment.
So you're not babying this camera. You can trust it to keep up with you.
Right.
Leo also talked about how enjoyable it is to use.
Yeah.
Which is important, right?
Totally.
You don't want to be fighting your gear when you're trying to be creative.
Absolutely. The GH4 has a really intuitive design.
Okay.
The controls are well placed.
Mm-hmm.
The menus are relatively easy to navigate.
Yeah.
And you can even customize the settings
Nice.
to match your workflow.
Very cool.
That ease of use can be a real game changer,
For sure.
especially if you're just starting out
Right.
or if you need to move quickly on a shoot.
Right. It frees you up to focus on what matters,
Yeah.
the story you're trying to tell.
Exactly.
Now, before we get too deep into Leo's hands-on experience,
Yeah.
I think it's helpful to break down some of the key specs. Okay, so let's start with the sensor.
Okay.
It's a 16 megapixel micro four thirds sensor,
Right.
which by today's standards
Yeah.
might not sound like much.
I mean, 16 megapixels
Yeah.
isn't going to blow anyone's mind in 2025.
Right, exactly.
But what does that actually mean for image quality?
Right, what does that mean for us?
Well, it's important to remember the context.
Okay.
Back in 2014,
Yeah.
16 megapixels was a very respectable resolution.
Okay.
And for most uses today, especially if you're primarily creating content for online platforms,
Yep.
it's still more than enough.
Interesting.
The images from the GH4 have good detail,
Okay.
nice color reproduction,
Good.
and a decent dynamic range,
Nice.
especially if you're shooting in RAW.
So for everyday use for social media, online videos,
Yeah.
you're going to be in good shape.
You'll be fine.
And let's be honest, this whole deep dive is really about the GH4's video capabilities, right?
Absolutely.
That's what made it so revolutionary.
The GH4 was one of the first cameras to offer truly affordable 4K video recording. And that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
This camera allowed so many people to tell their stories in this incredible high-resolution format
Yeah.
that was previously out of reach.
It's wild to think that 4K was once cutting-edge technology,
I know, right?
and now it's almost the standard.
And the GH4 didn't just offer 4K.
Yeah.
It did it well.
Okay.
It offered various frame rates from the cinematic 24 frames per second
Okay.
to 30 for broadcast style footage, and even up to 96 frames per second for slow motion effects.
Okay, that's cool. But I have to admit,
Yeah.
when it comes to tech specs, I sometimes get lost in the numbers.
Sure.
What do those different frame rates actually mean
Right.
for someone shooting video?
I'm happy to break it down.
Okay, cool.
So 24 frames per second
Yeah.
is that classic cinematic look,
Okay.
the one you associate with movies.
Gotcha.
30 frames per second is more common for broadcast television. And it has a smoother, more live feel.
Makes sense.
And those higher frame rates, like 96,
Yeah.
that's where you get that beautiful slow motion footage.
Ooh.
Imagine capturing a skateboarder doing a trick.
Cool.
Or a bird taking flight in slow motion.
That's awesome.
That's the power of high frame rates.
So you're not just shooting in 4K.
Right.
You're adding a whole layer of like creative options with those different frame rates.
Yeah.
It's making me want to grab a GH4 and just start experimenting.
It's a very capable camera.
Yeah.
Even by today's standards.
That's awesome.
And there's one more technical detail that Leo highlighted in his review that I think is worth explaining.
Okay, I'm ready.
Bitrate.
Bitrate.
The GH4 can record at high bitrates, up to 200 megabytes.
Okay, there's that number again, bitrate, so help me out here.
Okay, so
why should I care about bitrate?
Think of bitrate like the amount of information captured in each second of video. A higher bitrate means you're capturing more detail, which gives you more flexibility when you're editing.
Okay.
You can color grade more intensely.
Okay.
You can adjust the exposure.
Yeah.
And you're less likely to see compression artifacts.
Compression artifacts?
Which are those like blocky, pixelated distortions.
Okay.
That can sometimes happen with lower bitrates.
Okay, so if you're someone who's really into post-production, who likes to tinker with the footage, get creative with color grading.
Exactly.
High bitrate is your friend.
High bitrate is your friend, yes.
Gotcha.
It gives you more room to play without sacrificing quality.
So that's great.
And on top of that,
the
GH4 offers a clean HDMI output.
Nice.
So if you're working on a more professional project and you want even more control over your footage, you can connect an external recorder and capture even higher quality video.
Wow.
Using codecs like ProRes.
Okay. That's getting a bit technical for me, but
yeah.
Sounds like it's great for serious video editors.
It is, yeah.
Okay, but enough about the numbers. Let's get back to Leo.
Yeah.
And what he actually thought about using the GH4.
All right, let's do it.
So we've talked specs, but what was it actually like for Leo to use the GH4?
Well, one thing that really stood out to him was how well the camera handled.
Okay.
He said it felt great in his hand and the controls were all right where he needed them.
That's so important, right?
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to be like fumbling around with menus when you're trying to capture a moment.
Exactly. And the GH4's ergonomic design makes it comfortable to use even on long shoots. Leo specifically mentioned the grip.
Okay.
It's deep and well contoured. So it gives you a secure and comfortable hold.
You can tell they really thought about the physical design of this camera.
Absolutely. And he also had good things to say about the image quality. For stills. He found the GH4 delivered sharp images with good detail and accurate colors.
So even though we're talking about a camera from 2014...
I know, right?
It can still hold its own in terms of image quality.
It really can, especially for everyday shooting.
Cool.
Leo did note that the low-light performance isn't going to be as good as what you get from a more modern camera with a larger sensor.
That makes sense.
Yeah, sensor technology has come a long way in the past decade.
For sure.
It definitely has.
Yeah.
But even though the GH4 might show some noise at higher ISOs, it's still usable in moderately low-light conditions.
Good to know.
And there are always techniques you can use in post-production to minimize noise and get the most out of your footage.
So it's not a deal breaker if you're not always shooting in perfect lighting.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But let's get to the main event. Video.
All right.
What did Leo have to say about the GH4's video performance?
He was really impressed.
Okay.
Which isn't surprising, given the GH4's legacy. He raved about the sharpness and detail of the footage, and he was particularly happy with the color reproduction.
So it's not just about the 4K resolution, it's about the quality.
It's about the quality of that 4K.
Gotcha.
Yes. I remember those high bitrates we talked about?
Yeah.
Leo really noticed the difference they made in the quality of the footage.
Okay.
Especially when it came to editing.
So he could really push the footage in post without sacrificing quality.
Exactly.
That's a big win for anyone who likes to get creative in the editing process.
It is. And this is where I think it's important to address one of the GH4's limitations.
Okay.
It only records internally in 8-bit color depth.
8-bit.
Okay. Now for many users, 8-bit is totally fine. But if you're planning on doing heavy color grading, you might want to consider a newer camera. that offers 10-bit or even 12-bit recording.
Okay.
Those higher bit depths give you more color information to work with, which can make a big difference if you're trying to achieve a very specific look.
Right.
Or you need to make significant adjustments to the footage.
So for someone who's like really into color grading, that 8-bit limitation
could be a deal breaker.
Could be a deal breaker.
But let's not forget, we're talking about a camera that's over a decade old.
It's true.
At the time, 8-bit was pretty standard.
Okay.
And the GH4 still produces excellent video quality.
Yeah, it's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right.
Understanding the limitations.
Exactly.
And knowing how to work around them.
Yeah.
Leo also mentioned the autofocus in his review. I know we touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
But he did have some specific thoughts about how it performed in real-world shooting.
Right. So the GH4 uses a contrast-based autofocus system.
Okay.
Which, as we've discussed, isn't as fast or as sophisticated as the phase detection systems found in many newer cameras.
Phase detection, contrast detection.
I know, right?
Easy to get lost in the jargon.
Yeah, it is.
Can you remind me, like, what the difference is?
Yeah.
And why it matters?
Of course. So contrast-based autofocus works.
Yeah.
By analyzing the contrast in the image.
Okay.
And trying to find the point of highest contrast, which should be the point of focus.
Okay.
Phase detection autofocus, on the other hand, uses a dedicated sensor to measure the distance to the subject and adjust the focus directly.
So phase detection is like having a little rangefinder built into the camera.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, cool.
And because phase detection autofocus doesn't have to hunt for focus the way contrast detection does, it's typically faster and more accurate, especially when tracking moving subjects.
So for things like sports photography or wildlife photography, where you need to be able to lock on to a moving subject quickly, phase detection is going to be a better choice.
Absolutely. And for video, it can make a big difference in terms of achieving smooth and accurate focus transitions.
Okay.
Now, the GH4's contrast-based autofocus isn't bad. And Leo was able to get usable results.
Okay.
But he did note that it can be a bit slow.
Okay.
Especially in low light. And it's not always the most reliable for fast action shooting.
So if you're shooting something like a car chase or a sporting event,
probably not the best choice for those scenarios.
The GH4's autofocus might not be up to the task.
But for many other types of shooting, it's perfectly adequate.
Okay.
And Leo found that using single-point autofocus or even manual focus helped him achieve more consistent results.
So it's a matter of understanding the camera's strength and limitations. And adapting your shooting style accordingly.
Exactly. And remember, the GH4 was designed in a different era. Like, manual focus was still very common.
It's a reminder that sometimes those older tools can actually force you to slow down, to be more deliberate. Which can actually be a good thing creatively.
I agree. Sometimes limitations can spark creativity.
I like that. Okay, so we've talked about some of the GH4's limitations, but I want to circle back to why this camera is still relevant even in 2025.
It really comes down to value.
Okay.
Even though it's not the newest camera on the block. The GH4 offers an incredible bang for your buck. Especially if you're looking at the used market.
You can get a lot of camera for your money.
You really can.
That's awesome.
And that makes it a great option for a wide range of creators. From aspiring filmmakers and students to experienced professionals who need a reliable B camera or a specialized tool for certain types of shooting.
So let's break that down. Who would you say is like the ideal user for the GH4 in 2025?
Well, first and foremost, anyone on a budget. If you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of money to spend on gear, the GH4 is a fantastic option. It gives you access to high-quality 4K video. A wide range of creative options. And a camera that's built to last.
It's a great way to get your foot in the door without breaking the bank.
Absolutely. It's also a great choice for students
who
are learning the ropes of filmmaking. It's a very versatile camera that can handle a variety of shooting styles. And it's packed with features that'll help them develop their skills.
And because it's not the most expensive camera out there, they won't be afraid to experiment and make mistakes.
Exactly.
Which is all part of the learning process.
It is.
And then you have experienced filmmakers who might need a second camera for their setup.
Yeah.
Maybe something small and lightweight.
Yeah.
That they can use for specific shots or as a backup.
Right.
The GH4 fits that bill perfectly.
That's like that reliable friend you can always count on.
Exactly.
And it's also a great choice for certain types of filmmaking, like documentaries or event videography.
Okay.
Where you need a camera that's compact, durable.
Yeah.
And can handle a variety of shooting conditions.
We talked about the weather sealing earlier.
Right.
That could be a big plus for documentary filmmakers.
For sure.
Who are shooting in unpredictable environments.
It could. And the GH4's small size makes it less intrusive, which can be beneficial when you're trying to capture intimate moments.
Okay.
Or blend into the background.
So it's a very versatile camera.
It is.
But even with all its strengths,
yeah,
it's important to be realistic.
Of course.
No camera is perfect.
Right.
And the GH4 does have its drawbacks.
We've already discussed some of those limitations.
Yeah.
Like the 8-bit internal recording.
Right.
And the contrast-based autofocus.
Yeah.
And as with any older camera, you're going to be dealing with technology that's not quite as advanced as what you'd find in a brand new model.
But that doesn't mean it's not a capable camera.
No, not at all.
It just means you need to be aware of the limitations and know how to work within them.
Exactly.
I think that's an important point to emphasize.
Yeah.
Technology is constantly evolving.
It is.
And there's always a newer, shinier camera on the horizon.
Always.
But that doesn't mean that older cameras suddenly become obsolete.
Right. The GH4 is a perfect example of that.
Exactly.
It's a camera that changed the game.
Yeah.
And it continues to be a relevant and valuable tool for many creators.
It's true.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best tools are the ones that have stood the test of time.
And that good enough can be more than enough.
Exactly. And I think that's a valuable lesson. Not just in filmmaking, but in life.
I like that.
Sometimes we get so caught up in chasing the latest and greatest that we forget to appreciate the tools and resources we already have.
It's like that saying, the best camera is the one you have with you.
Exactly. And sometimes that camera might be a hidden gem from a few years back.
So what's the final verdict? Is the Panasonic Lumix GH4 still worth buying in 2025? So after all this discussion, is it a yes or no on the GH4 in 2025?
It's a resounding yes for me.
Okay.
But with the caveat that it depends on your needs and priorities.
Okay, yeah.
If you're looking for the absolute cutting edge of technology, then no, the GH4 isn't for you.
Right.
But if you value capability and durability, and frankly, getting a lot of bang for your buck, then this camera is absolutely worth considering.
It's like we've uncovered a hidden treasure.
I know, right?
A camera from 2014 that can still stand toe-to-toe with newer models in so many ways.
And that's the beauty of this deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best tools aren't always the newest or the most expensive.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best tool is the one that simply gets the job done.
Right.
And does it well.
The GH4 proves that good enough can be more than enough.
It really does.
And it makes me wonder what other tools or technologies we might be overlooking simply because we're so focused on the next big thing.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to all of us to step outside the hype cycle and reconsider the value of older tech.
Okay.
Maybe that film camera gathering dust in your attic could unlock a whole new level of creativity.
That's true.
Or that outdated software program might have features that modern versions lack.
Right.
The possibilities are endless.
It's like going on a treasure hunt.
It is.
Through the history of technology, there are so many gems waiting to be rediscovered.
And sometimes those vintage tools can surprise us.
Oh, yeah.
With their capabilities and inspire us in ways we never expected.
So to wrap things up, if you're looking for a camera that's affordable and capable and built to last, the Panasonic Lumix GH4 is definitely worth a look.
It is.
It might not be the newest kid on the block.
Right.
But it's got a lot to offer, especially for those who are just starting out or those who appreciate the value of a classic.
And who knows, maybe rediscovering the magic of a camera like the GH4 will inspire you to look beyond the hype and find those hidden gems in other areas of your life.
That's a great note to end on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of the Panasonic Lumix GH4.
Of course.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep.